What is Bab al Mandeb? The Bab al Mandeb, also spelled sometimes with an E in the middle instead of an A, Bab al Mandeb, is a small geographical choke point in the south part of the Red Sea that controls almost all shipping between the Indian Ocean and the Mediterranean Sea via the Suez Canal. It is a vital link along the world's key shipping route between Asia and Europe. The countries of Eritrea and Djibouti border it to the west, and Yemen is on its eastern edge. Bab al Mandeb is a strait that is 20 miles wide and 70 miles long between the Horn of Africa and the southern tip of the Arabian Peninsula that forms the southern entrance to the Red Sea from the Gulf of Aden and the Indian Ocean. It is on the southeastern side of Africa. If the cargo ships are traveling from the south, heading north, they go from the Arabian Ocean into the Gulf of Aden and then go through the Bab al Mandeb choke point. From there, they continue north through the Red Sea and finally into the Suez Canal, which is located on the northeastern side of Africa with Egypt on both sides. Once through the Suez Canal, they enter into the Mediterranean Sea. The Suez Canal itself is also a choke point, as it becomes very narrow in some areas. The narrowest area of the Suez Canal is only 656 feet wide or 200 meters. The Suez Canal is Egyptian state-owned and they operate and maintain it. Most are familiar with the Suez Canal because of the evergreen ship that turned sideways in the canal blocking the canal, which stopped trade ships from getting through for 6 days. On March 23, 2021, the cargo ship Ever Given was caught in a sandstorm and somehow turned sideways, running aground and becoming stuck in the Suez Canal. Although 6 days does not seem like much, it delayed over 400 cargo ships from getting through and caused a 60-day delay in shipping of more than 60 billion in trade goods. Bab al Mandeb means Gate of Tears or Gate of Grief in Arabic, was given its name because of the dangers and difficulty that formerly attended its navigation through the narrow waterway. However, even today, it's still difficult for modern cargo ships to navigate through due to the cross-currents, unpredictable winds, reefs and shoals. Not to mention the many naval mines from past conflicts that were never removed. It is estimated that up to 25% of the world's shipping passes along this route, which is several billion tons of cargo every year, to include an estimated 4.5 million barrels of oil every day. 10% of all of the oil traded by sea and an estimated 1 trillion in consumer goods goes through this trade route every year, making this strait essential to global shipping. The location of the Bab al Mandeb is one of the world's key shipping routes and a global flashpoint, meaning political trouble in this area could become a major world event affecting many countries. The reason the Bab al Mandeb has been brought to our attention recently in the news is because an island called Perim, which is also known as Mayun, controls the narrowest part of the Bab al Mandeb on the Yemeni side, which is the eastern side of the Bab al Mandeb. There is a Yemeni rebel group known as Houthis, who consists mainly of Shia Muslims with links to Iran. Their name was taken from their founder, Hussein al-Houthi. Iran has funded a majority of the rebellion against Yemen's Sunni Muslim government. The Houthis aim to govern all of Yemen and support external movements against the United States, Israel, and Saudi Arabia. Because of the Houthis' ideological background, the conflict in Yemen is widely seen as a front of the Iran-Saudi Arabia proxy war. The Houthis have been in conflict with the Yemeni government since 2004. In 2014, the Houthis took control of the Yemen capital in Sana'a, which is the largest city in Yemen. Yemen has since moved the location of the capital to the town of Aden. The Houthis also control much of the west and south of the Yemen, which is an area where the Bab al Mandeb is located. The Houthis announced in late 2023 that they would target ships in the Bab al Mandeb in support of the Iran-backed Hamas's group, which is currently fighting a war in Gaza and Israel. Just as a note, Israel is located approximately 200 miles to the east of the Suez Canal. Since the Houthis announced this, they have fired missiles against several ships in the Straits of the Bab al Mandeb, as well as firing missiles at Israel. They have also used drones for strikes on the ships and have seized control of some ships. Many global shipping companies have halted their cargo ships from traveling through the Red Sea corridor because of the attacks and threats of attacks by the Yemeni rebels. Not only does this cause a delay in trade and slows distribution to the consumer, it also adds additional expenses to the shipping companies, as it takes longer to travel around the bottom of Africa, and the insurance companies raise the insurance on the cargo ships having to take the longer travel route. All of this extra cost makes the prices of the consumer goods and oil, gas, rise as it is passed down to the consumer. This is not the first conflict to affect the Bab al Mandeb during conflicts with Israel. In 1973, Arab members of OPEC, Oil-Producing Economic Community, blocked many oil tankers who were headed to Israel from Iran. Egyptian ships enforced the blockade, stopping many oil tankers and forcing them to take other routes. The alternative route goes around the bottom of Africa and takes much longer to travel. This particular blockade lasted a few months. This incident highlighted the ongoing geopolitical significance of the Bab al Mandeb Strait and its critical impact to global energy supplies. Here's a brief history of the Bab al Mandeb. Bab al Mandeb was used in the earliest migrations of Semitic Ge'ez speakers into Africa, occurring around the same time of the Hebrew patriarch Jacob. In estimated 1900 BC, the Kingdom of Ascom was a major regional power in the Horn of Africa at this time. This information was obtained from the Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church, so the Bab al Mandeb was used in biblical times of the Old Testament. With the building of the Suez Canal, that opened on November 17, 1869, the Bab al Mandeb Strait assumed great strategic and economic importance because it formed a link between the Mediterranean Sea and East Asia, allowing much faster trade routes. It soon became the preferred shipping route between Europe and Asia. Also, with the opening of the Suez Canal, it allowed water to flow and circulate from the Mediterranean Sea to the Gulf of Aden and into the Arabian Sea. The British Empire actually had control of the island of Perim in the Bab al Mandeb during the wars with Napoleon, and decades later, in 1856, due to fear of the resurgence of French power. As the French were building the Suez Canal from 1859 to 1869, Britain mostly used the island of Perim for a refueling station for their coal-powered steamships that travelled to and from their naval base at Aden, which is a port city on Yemen's southern coast, and is approximately 100 miles to the east of Bab al Mandeb. Aden is now the capital of Yemen. In the late 1960s, the island of Perim was transferred from Britain control to the rulers of the south of Yemen. Yemen South then became backed by communist bloc and under the power of the Soviet Union that existed in the Cold War. Egypt sided and supported the area of the north of Yemen. The two sides fought a bitter civil war until the unification of the north and south in 1990. Due to Bab al Mandeb's vital need in the worldly trade of goods and oil that travel through it, several world powers maintain large military bases on the western side of Bab al Mandeb, in the Djibouti side of the strait. This includes the USA and China having military bases there. This is in an effort to stop Man al Mandeb from falling prey to hostile control. At the time of this video, January 5th, 2024, things are escalating in the Bab al Mandeb Strait. The presence of the USS Dwight D. Eisenhower, a nuclear-powered aircraft carrier from the USA, and her accompanying strike group were hoping to bring calm to the area. Per the press release on the US Central Command website from November 4th, 2023, the Dwight D. Eisenhower Carrier Strike Group, IKCSG, arrived in the Middle East and CENTCOM area of responsibility as part of the increase in regional posture. The strike group is commanded by Carrier Strike Group, CSG-2, and comprised of flagship aircraft carrier USS Dwight D. Eisenhower, CVN-69, guided missile cruiser USS Philippine Sea, CG-58, guided missile destroyers USS Mason, DDG-87, and USS Gravely, DDG-107, of Destroyer Squadron, DESRON 22, Carrier Air Wing, CVW-3 with its 9 squadrons, and the Information Warfare Commander. On December 30th, 2023, the Houthi rebels attacked a cargo ship in the Red Sea. The Houthi rebels struck the Singapore-flagged Maersk Hangzhou cargo ship with a missile as it sailed through the south part of the Red Sea near Bab al Mandeb. The cargo ship called out for assistance, and the US responded to their calls for help. The US military engaged in protecting the ship and shot down 2 anti-ship ballistic missiles that were fired at the cargo ship. Then, on December 31st, 2023, 4 small boats with Houthi rebels attacked the same cargo ship with small arms fire, and they tried to board the ship. The US military again responded to the ship's distress calls, with the USS Gravely and helicopters from the USS Dwight D. Eisenhower responding. The US military first gave verbal warning to the Houthi rebels. However, the Houthi rebels did not comply and opened fire on the US helicopters. The US military returned fire on the Houthi rebels and sank and killed the rebels in 3 of their 4 boats. The 4th boat fled the area. No harm came to US personnel, and no casualties were reported on the cargo ship that was attacked. The Houthis group acknowledged 10 of their men were killed in the confrontation with the US military, and they warned of consequences. The attack on the Singapore-flagged Maersk Hangzhou cargo ship is the 23rd unprovoked attack by Houthi rebels on international shipping vessels since November 19th, 2023. However, this is the first time the US military has killed anyone while defending the international cargo ships. This recent event shows the escalation of the maritime conflict that is linked to the war in Gaza. The White House advised they were going to continue to act in self-defense moving forward. John Kirby, who is a retired US Navy admiral and now works for the US Department of Defense, told ABC in an interview that the US military will do whatever it takes to protect shipping, and that the US has significant national security interests in the region. Per Kirby, they are going to put the kind of forces they need in the region to protect those interests, and they are going to act in self-defense going forward. Kirby added that the US has made it clear to the Houthi rebels that they take their threats seriously, and they are going to make the right decisions going forward. I'm sure there will be more to come involving the Houthi rebels and travelling cargo ships in the area of Bab al Mandeb. I pray the new year will bring peace to our world. I hope after watching this video, you are more familiar with the area and know exactly where and what Bab al Mandeb is. Thank you for watching, and I hope you take a look at other videos on my channel, LMB Video on YouTube. If you like, please subscribe.